So today I'm going to talk through the Microsoft Azure portal that we use for provisioning a number of the machines at Adoptium. The first page when you log in is this one here that has a list of all machines. To create a new one, you've two different ways you can go through it. You can either click on Virtual Machines, create Azure Virtual Machine. Your other option is from this page, create a resource, and then Virtual Machine create. And they will both take you to the same page here. Our subscription is just our normal one, so you don't need to touch that. Resource group, we're using Adopt OpenJDK. Obviously we're now called Adoptium, but a lot of our infrastructure providers are still configured with the old names and things haven't been renamed. For the virtual machine name, we usually give it a short name with hyphens in it. So in this case, I'm going to go for build Win 2012 5 6, because I've already got a 5 apparently. Region, obviously you can select that, as with most infrastructure providers, based on latency requirements, where you are, whether you have any data requirements that mean that things have to be stored in a particular area. I'm going to choose UK South here because that's closest to where I am at the moment. The image name, that will often default to a Windows Server 2022 one. But to select another one, you go into Windows Server here and you get the list all starting with the 2022 ones. And if you scroll down, you'll get the Windows Server 2012 ones. These ones, make sure you don't pick them because they're not the R2 version, and if you use those, you won't be able to install the Visual Studio compilers on those. So the ones we want are the two down here, the Windows 2012 R2. The Gen 1 machines, I believe, can install older versions of Linuxes on those as well. The Gen 2s will work for all versions of Windows, as will the Gen 1s, but you can't install some of the older versions of Linux. So from this perspective, we might as well just pick the Gen 2 because we're using a Windows system. In terms of other things that need to be specified, we've got the size. I'm just going to go for a small one at the moment. So username, again, I'm just going to put in Adopt OpenJDK. Password, I will paste something in there. And we'll allow the RDP port in because that's what we use to connect in to administer the machines. So leave that as is. None of the other things need to be changed. If we go into the disks section now, you've got multiple options as to which type of disk that you want. We'll stick with premium SSD, which is what we're using on most of ours. We don't always need to do it, but in this case I'm going to add an extra disk onto it. I'll just put that down to 256 gig, and that will do fine. Click that checkbox and it should delete the disk when we get to the point where we delete the virtual machine towards the end. There it goes, that's all good. Networking, shouldn't be too much to change on here. Just make sure it's got a definition for a new public IP address, which is fine. Everything else is good. It's going to let through the RDP port, which is good. And again, we can set that to delete everything once the machine is deleted, once it's not used. The rest of the pages, there's nothing too much that needs to be changed in here, but I'll just scroll through them just to be able to show you what's on them. So you can just click review and create there and it'll go straight to the last panel now because nothing in the rest of them are mandatory. Capacity reservations, lots of different things. Tags we don't use either, so I'll just go straight to review and create. So running final validation up here. Validation passed, that's good. So we have a B2S server by Microsoft. All of the settings that we just selected there. We will need to enable one other protocol through the networking setup, but that can't be done until after you've got the machine provisioned. So we'll click create there and let it get on with it. There it goes, initializing deployment. And I'll just let that run for a minute or so. So in a minute you'll see things appear at this point of the screen as it runs through the different parts of the provisioning process. There it goes. So just while this is running, I'll switch to one of my other systems, which is one that I set up before. This one isn't in production, so I can mess around it without too much problems. And here, once you go into the machine, you've got the options to connect into it. If you go to RDP, it will give you the IP address, the port number, and the RDP file that you can use for connecting directly into there. logs and various other things from here. There's also the PowerShell command line that you can use to administer these machines as well, if you wish to do so. You've also got the options, as with most of the providers, to stop and start machines. So if I just click restart there, it'll give me the option of rebooting it. So I'll go back to my provision, and that has now succeeded. So I can go to the resource now. Now, as I said, we do need to add in another inbound connection. So that's from the networking section here. Add an inbound port rule. We can limit the source to be one particular machine, for example, the AWX server. So the port that we need to add is for the WinRM protocol, which is what Ansible uses to connect into Windows machines and runs commands. On most of the Unix machines or Unix-based machines, it will use SSH, will connect over SSH. On Windows, it's WinRM. So there's a little bit of setup that we do on the machine to allow the WinRM connections to be accepted. So the service here, if I scroll down, there it goes, WinRM. And that will let the WinRM protocol through, which is, as it says there, port 5986. Allow, and yeah, name, that's absolutely fine. Allow any WinRM inbound. So that will do for now. So if I click add, it will then create a security role. And you see we've got 4 entries here. And hopefully shortly that will be 5. There it goes. So that's the WinRM inbound. So it will now accept connections into that port. So I think that's pretty much it. So it's, again, relatively quick to do that. I did a restart there. You can also do a stop and then a restart cycle if you want. So you can do them in separate operations if you get any reason to do that. And then, so if we go back to my number 6 again, overview. From there I can, don't need to stop it, but I'm going to delete it now. As per those checkboxes that I did earlier, all of these are already filled in, so it's going to delete the data disks and the network interface associated with it. I have read and understand that everything will be deleted. Yes, of course. Click delete, deleting virtual machine. I'll just give it a second to acknowledge that. Go back to my home screen now. So it's still showing there, but it's in the process of being deleted, so that will disappear soon as well. I think that's all that needs to be said about the Azure portal. Have a look at the other videos for the other providers. Thank you.